If you've been a long-time GameSpot fan, this will be a bit of a treat. We have Greg Kasavin and Rich Gallup, both former GameSpot people. Welcome back, I guess. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having us. This is not bizarre at all.
Not bizarre at all. So we just had Jeff and Ryan.
Yep.
Now you two.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we couldn't get all of you on at the same time. That could have been fun, but
Yep.
maybe when we have a live cam going around, we can catch everybody.
Be here all week.
Yeah, catching up. So how you doing?
Nothing major has been happening.
Nothing going on in your life at all.
So it's really just
business as usual.
Totally business as usual.
Yeah.
It's been definitely an exciting time for myself and a lot of my friends, and yeah, it's definitely not over. But there's really good news happening. It's really awesome that for people who don't know, I was just an employee of 38 Studios. And you may have seen it in the news. It's really awesome that Epic Games just basically said, "Hey, big huge games, we're just gonna we'll take as many of you as we can."
Yeah.
They're a really awesome team. They did an awesome job making Reckoning a great fun game.
Yeah.
And to keep those guys together.
But you were on the 38 side, not the big.
I was up in Providence.
Yeah.
On the MMO Copernicus. Yes, I was lead producer there.
Wow. So that's done now? They put a trailer out.
Yeah, exactly. It's a gorgeous game. I've been playing it every day for years. It's just, it ended so quickly, and the game was so far. I won't believe it's done until it's done. But like, I'm not an employee there right now.
No.
There are not many people who are employees there, if at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
so
not dead.
you left GameSpot to go there, right? Would you have anything in between?
I left GameSpot actually to follow my wife to law school, which is one of the reasons why I am in such a much more fortunate spot than a lot of people I work with.
Because you're married to a lawyer.
I'm married to a lawyer. We rent and we don't have kids yet, so it's like there's a lot of like crazy stuff happening. Like there were no less than 3 kids due, babies due, like the week this all happened.
Oh, no way.
Exactly. And there are a lot of single income families, and all of a sudden you didn't have a paycheck and your health insurance went away. And but a lot of good has come out of this, and that the support from the community. I can't remember his name exactly, but the guy, the writer who started the hashtag 38 jobs.
Oh,
feed,
yeah.
Alex Rubens, is that his name? Or
Sure.
I need to look it up. Whatever it was this amazing outpouring of support where it's like, hey, 38 people, if you need jobs, we're looking, hashtag 38 jobs, you need to go to a site. And then, and that was awesome. And then, of course, being the internet, all of a sudden, like, porn sites were using hashtag 38 jobs. And some companies that just had massive layoffs were like, yeah, we still have openings. And we're like, it's cool, but there's, and just like the grassroots stuff of like people giving each other food or letting people stay at each other's houses.
Oh, wow, is that?
Yeah, and that's it. Like, the team is so talented, like people are just getting snatched up.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see some of the things that people are getting to work on as a result of this. It's terribly tragic, and it's still obviously very, very raw.
Yeah.
But I think before the summer's over, I'd like to think we'll all be okay.
Are you going to stay east?
Gotta stay east. The wife's law practice is there. So Boston area. There's a lot of cool gaming going on there right now.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll say it right now. Actually, I'm starting a startup.
Good for you.
I am, with a very talented group of engineers.
I think Greg might have some tips for you.
This is actually all we've been talking about on the couch. I almost wanted to go back there and talk about it. I'm following Greg's footsteps. He became a producer when he left. I became a producer when I left. He and Supergiant made this amazing game, Bastion. And if we could make a game with a fraction of the success or even joy created by that game, we'd be very fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been so much. The case with 38 has been really, I mean, it's kind of a spectacular story, right? Like on the surface, it's just wild. The moment they're like government, press conferences, it's like that. It's a whole new ball game. But
yeah.
But I think the real sort of tragedy is just on some level how common these kind of studio closures have been over the last several years. I mean, barely a week or two goes by when some studio with like a storied history hasn't gone down, and I think the only silver lining in it all has been that from the ashes of a lot of these companies have sprung forth these smaller teams or studios and stuff like that have gone on to make really great stuff. And it's just, I don't know, the way I try to make peace with it myself is just it seems to be how the industry itself is evolving, that now is a time when these smaller teams can be successful again, whereas, you know, maybe 5 years ago they could, but any more than 5 years ago it was like almost impossible, because you need to make a retail game, you know, to be successful or something.
So are you gonna, I mean, a question for both of you for moving forward, I mean, is Kickstarter something that you're both looking at to crowdsource getting started? Are you looking to investors? Are you looking to go do a deal with Microsoft or Steam or something?
I can, so in our case, we're very fortunate in that, so Bastion was self-funded.
Yeah.
It was just all kind of the guys at the company digging deep, you know, reducing
was it just horrifically scary?
It was very scary, but it felt like the right thing to do, because it meant that it was truly our game, and like we were gonna kind of live and die by its success, and we're like, hey, if it fails, you know, we don't owe a bunch of people a bunch of money.
Right.
We're just out a bunch of money, and we could just go get other jobs.
And you can be like, okay, well that didn't work.
Yeah, you know, at least that's what we told ourselves to try to.
But there is something about going and starting something on your own, that whether it succeeds or fails, there's this respect that comes from this world that I think, you know, when you're at GameSpot, you probably had no exposure to, which is just like, you know, you have lawyers and business guys and all this stuff where just going and starting your own thing, that entrepreneurial thing, you're in this network of people that is just like, look, even if you fuck it up, it's still good, you know?
It's really exciting for us right now, because we get to sit around and have conversations about how we want to do this. We're calling ourselves Summer Camp Studios. Because this started as, it was almost going to be an academic exercise of, you know, we just kind of all got sent to summer camp involuntarily, where we, and let's sit around and let's learn about the industry, because we just spent, some of us, it was over 4 years, making a massive game with hundreds of people working on it. Meanwhile, the market has exploded for social games, for mobile games. The investor seems to really want those kind of games. So let's learn about what it takes to make a game like that, what makes a game fun, and that said, can we bring some soul with us while we're making those games? Because right now it seems like the people who are getting the head start, the jump on it, are basically, it's like the Zynga type. Zynga makes some great games, but a lot of their games just seem like they're mathematically calculated for success and not necessarily something that's
we've heard
fun.
stories that, I mean, not just Zynga, but some of those social game studios that, you know, the employee number one on each new project isn't a programmer, it's an economist who's going to work out the financial model for it.
Exactly. And so what our team is right now, there's 8 of us. It's myself, it's the former general manager of 38. He's been around forever. He worked at EA, he worked at Crytek. We also have 5 extremely talented engineers, including our CTO from 38, the lead server engineer, who also happened to be the lead server engineer on World of Warcraft, the lead design engineer, 2 of the lead gameplay engineers. So we have this firepower, and then we have an extremely talented artist. And we have this firepower, and you get to sit around and say, like, all right, you guys can basically build anything, or so it feels like. Let's learn about it. Let's figure out what it's like to get a game out quickly. Let's ship something, because we haven't shipped anything in 4 years. We all have the itches to ship something. And then how do you make a game in this new environment where you need to interact with your audience more, you interact with your customers more, and actually build the game that they want to play, and not necessarily the game that you want to make. It should be pretty exciting. It should be pretty terrifying. But we're looking forward to the lessons that we'll learn from it.
So how about you, Greg? You're going to stay small? So we had Jonathan Mack on earlier, and he was saying that he did Everyday Shooter, and it was just him. And then with Sound Shapes, it's just sort of, it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and Sony, you know, he's now doing it on PS3 and Vita, and he said now suddenly he finds himself running this huge team. And it's a very different experience. I mean, you trying to keep it intimate?
We are, absolutely, the way we see it is, like, on Bastion, we sort of we were kind of less than a full team. We were 7 people at its peak size. So there are a couple of people that we think you know, if we found the right person, we think would kind of bolster us a lot. Like, we had to rely on some of our friends externally for, like, animation and stuff like that. But that being said, it's like, I'm talking like 1 or 2 people or something like that. So we definitely want to stay small. We've been there in the big team dynamic, and we know how communication changes and how, like, the kind of new challenges that are introduced there. And we just, like, so much of our kind of good morale and the kind of creative energy that that we have that we like comes from the really like rapid communication that occurs. That's only possible because we're small.
Yeah.
Because the more people you add, the more people have to like buy into stuff, and the more people even have good ideas. But even when there can almost be too many good ideas sometimes, or people could have too many reasons for why something won't work and stuff like that. So we like sort of living and dying by the sort of limited number of inputs that we have, being less than 10 people, and seeing what comes out of that, because we get to like a really specific result from that. I think it's definitely, the games that we make are going to reflect the sensibilities of these like handful of people who made them, and we think that's ultimately for the best.
Yeah.
It seemed to work pretty well so far.
Yeah, you seem to be doing okay.
Well, we we're still blown away by the response. It's like you can like control the quality of the thing that you work on, let's say, for the most part, but there's no telling how people are going to react to it. There's no telling what else is going to come out at the same time. So we feel very, very lucky that our first game was so well received, and we hope, whatever we come up with next, that it'll be able to, likewise make an impact. So we're glad to have that problem now of like, now everyone's going to be like, well, let's see.
Do you have that kind of second album syndrome thing going on?
I think it's too early. You'll be able to tell me after after our next game comes out. I mean, I think it's a real thing to think about, of like, well, what do you want to do next? Like how, because I like to say, it takes 2 points to form a line. So like we've kind of made this one point with Bastion, but now our true kind of trajectory as a studio will be determined by whatever we do after this. And I'm as curious as anyone to see what comes of that.
Yeah.
We're definitely, we're keeping busy for sure, but it'll be a while, I think.
Yeah.
We have
So you guys were you both here yesterday as well for the press?
I
was driving down.
I flew in last night.
Did you watch the press conferences?
I've watched them via Twitter, which I feel was the best way to watch a press conference.
You get the
ever.
fully curated like
The
violent
Ubisoft,
cynicism.
The Ubisoft, it was like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. Aisha Tyler Taylor, she's awesome. I can't believe these games are so bad. And then all of a sudden, Watch Dogs was shown, and everyone was just like stunned silence.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed 3 as well. I can't talk. I almost wish I was in the press again so I could talk about how excited I am about Assassin's Creed 3. Like, the Gallups came to Boston in 1630, so to play a game where I could be like fighting alongside Lieutenant Colonel Ben Adam Gallup while stabbing redcoats in basically what's my backyard now.
Wow.
It's almost a dream game.
Not many people know their family history that deeply.
I don't know.
It's there's a graveyard in Mystic, Connecticut, or Ledyard, Connecticut, where I go to one graveyard and I can visit my grandfather, my great-grandfather, my great-grandfather. Go to the next graveyard and it's the next 4 or 5 generations back.
It's like Game
all
of
next to
Thrones.
each other. Yeah, it's cool
You're
stuff.
all got your own crypt and everything.
Oh
It's
yeah,
pretty,
I can't wait.
badass.
I got a nice corner picked out. It's gonna be great.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, anything else tickle your fancy?
I didn't watch them. I just started watching some of the footage. Like Halo 4 looked really cool.
Yeah.
From what I
It's
saw.
funny, we've had a bunch of people on today, and you're the first people to mention Halo 4.
Really?
It's almost like, is it sort of too obvious?
I don't know. It's like, to me, it's not, because it's like that's the game where, like, it stands to sort of, it has the greatest potential to just sort of disappoint, right? Because it's like, it's the storied franchise and all this. The stakes are so high for something like Halo 4.
Yeah.
So for them to come out with something where everyone's like, whoa, that actually looks really damn good. That's really impressive to me. I think like people, it's just to overcome people's kind of. There's just a certain sort of jadedness toward franchises that are allowed.
It showed. I mean, it showed pretty well yesterday. Yeah. I mean, they made a big effort to make it clearly different. And I think the demo was clever because it started with Covenant, and then into the orange glowing Predator thing that they had. And the transforming guns, which are always cool, right?
Everyone loves transforming guns.
They do.
Yeah. So I'm excited about Borderlands 2 for that reason.
Oh,
right.
Loving guns. The line there is ridiculous. I played Forza Horizon with Brian Eckberg, another part of the Reunion Tour.
Oh, wow.
That game plays like a lot of fun. You get to tear up Colorado, which is great. I played Hybrid, which is also cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Fitself. That's another cool company to
yeah,
follow
no,
as
they're
an
awesome.
example.
And we in turn, have followed them. I mean, they were some of the those guys have been great.
Have you guys seen this thing, Hawken, the mech
Hawken.
thing? Which is like 5 guys, right?
Yeah.
It's small,
Yeah.
small team.
They look really impressive.
Yeah.
It looks awesome. Is it here?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll have to track that down.
You should check it down.
And The Last of Us looked really good.
Yeah.
I thought from Naughty Dog.
The game that does Ellen Page better than the Ellen Page game.
And the real Ellen.
The 300th person to make that joke.
I know, but I mean, I really don't understand why they made such a big deal about her and then showed a demo where she said nothing.
She said they're coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
No, you didn't see it?
Quantic Dream
It's
game.
Quantic Dream. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Who knows what the gameplay is, of course, but it's definitely a game I want to at least watch.
Yeah.
So everyone has fairly strong opinions on Nintendo today. What do you think of their showing? Jeff and Ryan were on before you. They were pretty down on it.
Where I didn't watch it.
I didn't watch her.
But
yeah.
I went to the Ubisoft booth and I watched Rayman Legends, and I want to play that game.
Yeah.
It looks gorgeous. It kind of looks like that great companion game they tried saying. I think that Mario Galaxy 2 was, or maybe the first Mario Galaxy, where it's like you two people can play together in completely different play styles, and like I could see handing my wife or my brother or anyone the pad, say like, all right, you get to tap at things while I actually get to do the platforming. And the art style is awesome.
Yeah.
Were there big? Yeah, I've been traveling, so I've missed most of it, unfortunately. Were there like big game announcements and stuff?
They showed the Mario game, obviously.
Yeah.
Pikmin was the big opener, Pikmin 3.
Right. Oh, that's cool.
And then they have this thing called Nintendo Land, which is sort of a mini game collection.
Yeah. I walked by it. I'm not going to play it.
Yeah, it seems a little. So there wasn't the big wow. I think people's chief complaint is they could have capped it off with a tease that would have gotten everyone hungry, but instead they focused a lot on, we are doing games that came out 6 months to a year ago. They look a little bit better, and they integrate the controller.
Do you think the disappointment was compounded by all of the other disappointment from other press conferences?
Yeah, they hurt from going last.
Like, if they had just hit with something big, everyone would have exploded.
If they'd have showed either something Zelda, even a hint, or what Retro are up to, I think people would have come out much more up on them.
A lot of people seem to think that the Retro, I was under the impression that the Retro thing might be announced or something, but that's too bad.
Another thread following it on Twitter this morning was that everyone said that, like, Reggie seemed super pissed the whole time.
He seemed a little down on. There was a tangible split on the people talking about Wii U and the fact that 3DS had been ghettoized. I don't know if there was some tension going on that we didn't know about, but there was definitely this almost second-class citizen is sort of like too extreme. But there was this definite. Well, you guys have got your 3DS shit that you're doing later on. We're not going to talk about that here, but you can show that Luigi thing if you want to. Like, just get on with it, you know.
So what's Dad Chasers about? What's that? I saw that pop up as well. Is that
the what?
Someone kept saying the phrase Dad Chasers over and over again. Is that
Dad Chasers?
Dad Chasers. Like I don't know. It's like, is that like the market they're going after? There's some like after video, if you're watching the press conference, where they would.
Oh, I had a split. I didn't see that.
They showed more apparently. There's a bunch of like dads acting like idiots. Is my understanding.
So I mean, as game makers in your situations, is the Wii U a wait and see kind of thing?
For me, like everything is a wait and see. Yeah, it's partly that we're a small studio, so these guys aren't coming to us and saying, here's all our plans.
So is PC the safe bet these days?
Well, I don't know. It's I don't think anything is a safe bet. It's like, it would be like Steam has been really, really good for us. It's not great for everyone necessarily. It just really depends on the game. You know, other people would say like iOS, you know, iPhone, iPad stuff. But that's obviously like, since the barrier to entry in that market is so low, it's really hard for games to get noticed there, even though it's like relatively easy to release a game on that platform. It's not, it's kind of a wash, I think, on some level, and making good games for that platform, I think, is just as hard as anywhere else. So our attitude, that's part of the benefit, I think, for us in being small, is like, it seems like such like rough waters these days for all these different platforms, that we're just like, hey, we want to be wherever people are playing games, so, and we're just gonna like react we're going to be as maneuverable as possible as this stuff shakes out, and go where the wind takes us, I guess.
How about you, Rich?
I think those are the kind of conversations we're actually having right now, and I'm like anxious to get back on email so I can continue participating in that.
Yeah.
It's part of it is like, it is literally that academic side where we want to learn everything where we can. So since none of us have made an iPhone game and everyone says it's easy to ship one, well, let's just ship one and see what happens.
Right.
Let's see what happens if, like, I start a Twitter account and start like really pestering guys like you and Jeff and Ryan and be like, all right, hey, can you guys push this game and we'll see if people actually like it. And the onus is on us is to actually make sure that game is fun, to see how that is responded to.
And we like that, honestly, because we can have more honest conversations with that direct relationship. I mean, there's so much now with the bigger stuff where it's very difficult to actually even get it. I mean, it was hard 4 or 5 years ago, but when you guys were doing it, it's harder than ever now. Like, you sit down with someone on a game with a budget that's north of $40 million, and they have 3 things they're allowed to tell you.
Exactly.
Yep.
And you want to talk about anything about creativity or motivation or anything that you want to speak to someone artistic about, and they're like, well, let me tell you about this, and it's very, it's...
Try getting let go from a company where you have 300 people working on a game. I have no idea what I'm even allowed to say about Copernicus, and there's so much that I want to say, but it's hard. So if you can then go to like, all right, we're 8 dudes, we're making a game, we think this is a good idea, who wants to help us like beta test this to see if it actually is a good idea.
Yeah, fantastic.
Well, and that's, you mentioned Kickstarter before. I mean, that's one of the great, it'll be really interesting to see like what sort of comes out of this kind of first crop of Kickstarted games. But sort of the promise of it, of like people sort of directly appealing to the guys who will ultimately pay for and play the game, that's really cool to see.
The first big Kickstarter campaign that doesn't deliver. Like I gave to both Double Fine and to the Shadowrun game, and also to Grim Dawn. Entertainment's game.
Wasteland 2.
That was the only one I feel like the only one. Obviously, there's millions of them, but I've also at the same time donated Kickstarter to like friends' movie projects. And like they don't, and obviously it's very hard to make anything on Kickstarter. And I want to like nudge my friends and be like, hey, remember how I gave you the money? Send an update in a couple months. How's that going? And I have total faith in their ability to deliver, but like the internet is a fickle beast, and if someone does not deliver the dream game that they think they're promising through Kickstarter, that whole thing can blow right up.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us, guys. It's the bonus stage on GameSpot. I'm your host, John Davison. You can follow me on Twitter at JWHDavison. Rich, what's your Twitter account?
It's brand shiny and new, and I like to thank my 2,000 new followers for flocking me so quickly. It's terrifying. Rich_Gallup.
Greg?
Mine is just my last name, Kasavin.
Excellent.
Thanks.
We'll be back in about 5 minutes. We have the lead from Game Globe, which is it's a browser-based game creation game. It looks really interesting. And Engel Kroll. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thank you very much.